The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich. Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. We do this by We do this by featuring individuals with disabilities who share their stories, as well as learn about organizations that provide programs, services, and support to the community. So I am a polio survivor, walked on crutches most of my life till about 20 years ago, and then started a transition into the wheelchair, and which was completed probably 5-10 years ago, something like that. So that's my story. How about you, Miss Rich?
I am, I had cerebral palsy last time I checked. And that was, a while ago.
Yep.
And I use a walker, and I'm transitioning to a wheelchair more progressively, but I've decided that we're going to fight that a little bit more, and I'll talk about that in a second.
Good. Always like to hear that. Yeah. I was I still think about that. I still think, I don't know if the transition was totally pain-related, strength-related, combination of both. I know there are components to all that because it started a long time before I even thought about getting a wheelchair.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that the not regression, not transgression, the deterioration, I guess would be the word. Yeah, it started. Yeah, so.
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing for me. Like, I was always like, you don't want to say warned about it, but kind of warned about it, right? And then I always worked in a job where I walked around quite a bit. Like, I worked at a landscape yard for a long time, and people would be like, oh my God, how's this girl out here like this? And I don't see any different because I'm walking to the bus every day. I'm doing the bus thing to get there, walking to work, and then working. Well, then COVID hits, and I get a job that I can work from home, and I sit a lot more. So it's kind of like you, where it's like, okay, well, am I more dizzy and less, more fatigued because I'm sitting on my butt all the time? Or are these aches and pains because I turned, 46 yesterday? Or what is it?
Happy birthday
it's
again.
A chicken or thanks. It's a chicken or an egg, right?
Yes.
I can't really say, but no matter what the cause, now is the time. But that's what I was saying earlier, is now my birthday present to myself yesterday was I have a treadmill that I've been looking at for a while, literally in my house. And so I told myself every day for at least 10 minutes, I'm going to walk the treadmill instead of looking at it and going, oh, I should have done that.
One of these days.
So yesterday I started, and I was tired at 15 minutes, so I went to 20 minutes. And
you said your goal was 10 minutes a day, and then you went to 15?
Yeah, well, I went to 20.
Very nice.
At 15, I started to get the shaky legs, like when we were talking about with the guys. In our other conversation, is you get to that point where your body's like, oh no, and then you're like, okay, 2 more minutes past that, just put on some music. Basically, I was cover the time and put on the music.
Or,
yes,
can I give you a different perspective?
You absolutely can.
I'm thinking, at first, at least while you're starting,
yes,
don't do the extra. Maybe even do a less, and have it more deliberate and intentional. Do 10 for a day or so, then do 12, whatever you're feeling like.
Yeah.
Because for 2 reasons. You'll be getting stronger without even knowing it. It's like the lobster in the in the boiling water. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the other thing is that you won't get this negative feeling about doing it.
Oh, no,
yes, right. So each day that you do it, there isn't that negative, I had to push through, or it got painful.
I have to go do this again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see it as a reward for myself.
Yes.
Is that loving yourself is taking care of yourself instead of going, I should have done that. There's no excuse. So I'll be very excited to report along the way how my progress is going. Ideally, I want to be able to walk more with less geez, I'm tired and I went.
And I think you'll get to the point fairly quickly that it will be something that I don't want to say you can't live without, but yes, you will very much
you
look
crave
forward
it.
to.
It's your routine, and you have to do it. And I just have to get that way because I gotta love myself. I'm too young not to love myself and just to accept it.
Well, and we're talking about this from a perspective of having a disability, but we all know in our lives. I'll just speak for myself, but man, I was shocked at how much earlier in life you start to feel those kind of effects of aging. When I was 30,
for sure.
I can remember thinking, wow, I used to be able to stay up late at night, go out all night and get up the next morning and go to work. Now I can stay out all night, but man, that getting up is tough. Like on a work night.
Yeah, that's when it happens. I was telling my mom on the phone yesterday, I was like, I look at the mirror and I'm like, what is this wrinkle by my eyeball? Like, you thought that happened when you were like 60 because you were like 13 and you thought your mom was 60. And now that you're like over 40, you're like, oh, no, it happens over 40. Like, it's a big reality check to understand how a timeline of a life works. Yeah. So, here we are.
And there's moments like that throughout your life. Wait till you get to my age, and there's things.
Man, every day we wake up, it's a good day.
It's a good day. Absolutely. And I'm not talking about any complaints or anything. I'm just talking about the changes and I've been starting to tell people this that are younger than me, and when I say younger than me, like your age even, is the things you don't know you don't want to know yet. You get to the point, and I'm sure people can relate to this, you get to the point where maybe your parents are gone, and you have questions for them that only they can answer, but now they're gone. But you didn't think of them. You can't beat yourself up. I'm not beating myself up, but, I think of things I wish I would have asked while they were still around. One related to what we're doing here, one of them is I would love to know the conversation that they had with the doctors and everything where we got mainstreamed into school.
Yeah.
What was it back then? Because I think it's so much different now. I mean, it's we've come a long way in the disability rights community where we've, now got rights and, we got a place. But back then, I don't think it was, so easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I mean, I always play that game in my head too. And we've talked about this, like, losing our parents already. Like, my dad would freak out about a cell phone. You know what I mean? Or like things they didn't see, like the things that they thought were far out, or like the things they were like, oh my God, that's so weird. And then now, here we are, and the things we're like tripping out about, they would literally think they had gone back to the future or something.
But,
right?
even, because I'm a bit older, but my parents, I think about all the things that they saw come along. They were born into a world without television, without a stock market crash, without, and
they had a lot of experience.
They went through all those things. Yeah.
That's why I used to love to talk to my grandma. Like, I adored my mom's mom. Well, both my grandmas, but I specifically, when I was in college, I made it so that I only had a 4-day week of school so that I could hang out with Fridays with her. And I was always the kid, as you know, because you've known me for a long time. I asked a million questions that I want to know, like her history. So I learned a lot about what life was like. Thank God, I had that kind of fortitude to say, tell me when you were growing up on the farm. Tell me about high school. Tell me about... But it was such a different world. LA, like with orange groves and no major traffic. And,
Yeah,
so
I asked my aunt at one point, because all my aunts on my mom's side, first generation in this country. My grandparents on that side came from the Azores Islands, and they were both sides, one of 12 or 13 kids.
Yeah.
And only like half of them came here. So I was curious as to, did they come here to get away from whatever was going on where they were, or did they come here because they were attracted to what opportunities were here?
Exactly.
And she didn't know. So sorry, I have no answer for you.
Well, darn it. Anyway, how was your week? I dragged you off on a rabbit hole.
No, that's all right. I was, as we were talking there, I was thinking, I don't even know if I'm going to talk about the things I was going to talk about. I will tell you.
Kathy has arrived.
Yes. I do want to say I got a letter from Erica at Safety Powers. Very nice letter. I've reached out to her and just told her she's the episodes that we've done with her have done very well. They're in our like top 5 of all the episodes that we've done, and they're still a part of the family, and we're going to be doing more topic-based things, and I know that we may reach out to them to get their perspective because they're awesome, and she always has really kind words to say, so I appreciate her and her whole team over there. Got to spend time with my granddaughter. Her mom sent me a picture of some artwork that she did.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
she is extraordinary. And I'm telling you, it might be Grandpa Pride talking a little bit, but for 6 years old, she followed, she followed along on a YouTube tutorial how to do this, but still, I think most 6-year-olds, it would look like she did a moon.
Like a 6-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. And she did a moon that is a perfect circle. So I don't know if she used, an aid to make that perfect, but the colors, the tree. I was over there yesterday and she got this big wall and she's got a bucket full of chalk and she's drawing the ocean and the beach and putting palm trees on. And, they're childlike. I understand that. But she's just whipping that out. She just.
Yeah, and the depth that she's going to.
Yeah. And she put like coconuts in the coconut tree and put one on the ground next to the tree.
So
the
you know what? She's showing her talent early, so you better get some signatures.
I know. But I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how it develops and see if it is has the potential, which it feels like it's showing now. All right, proud papa or grandpapa moment over.
Yay! I'm happy.
Yeah, and went to the wheelchair support group with Rolling Start. They have 2, so went to both of those and invited them to maybe be part of our groups too. That were these topics that we keep talking about. We got some things in the works. I had a chance to talk to the executive director over there because I want to get, people that are living with disabilities, but also I want to, in some of these conversations, I want to have the people that provide the services, even at the state level, through Department of Health and Human Services and things like that, to be involved and get their perspective and all that. So that's part of it too.
Cool.
So, all right. Thank you to Pilar for joining us last week. Always love to hear her story and her energy. She's a fighter, She doesn't come across there because, but she's told me, in the past, like I say, I've known her for a while, that she's not who she's used to be, through her experience. Yeah. She was just like very.
The fire refined you, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. She was somebody that didn't really speak up a whole lot and all that. So now to be a system change advocate is just crazy.
It's a huge deal.
And goes out in public and does that. It's not like it's one-on-one. She talks to groups and she's amazing. So thank you for coming on. Coming up today. Oh, before I forget to, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and whatever else they call it, wherever you get your podcast.
Right. But, do all the things. Do all the modern things.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Absolutely. So coming up today is an interview with Niko Best. I met him last year at the Burbank City Parks. They did an adaptive sports. I guess they do something every Sunday, actually. They have rugby and some other adaptive sports, but they do a big one every year, have a bunch of vendors out. So I met him last year just briefly and then saw him a number of different events over the course of the year. Saw him at this year's event at Burbank. Saw him at Abilities Expo. I said, got to get you on the show. He has great energy. So we'll talk to him today. And that's it. We'll be right back after this word from Agyar Professional Training.
Are you ready to own your voice and step into your power? Join Agyar Professional Training for our yearly seminar. An interactive experience designed to help you break through fear, self-doubt, and imposter syndrome. Learn how to set boundaries, use your influence, and regain clarity and confidence in your personal and professional life. This live Zoom event happens Saturday, April 12th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to noon Pacific. Space is limited. Register now and start speaking with purpose and power. Visit the link on the walkandrolllive.com events page to sign up today.
From the UGYAR Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Tuesday, new day, new guest, let's say. Tuesday, new day, new guest, let's say. We've told a lot of stories, there's been so many glories. We've seen incredible changes, each with beautiful ranges. Doug, yeah, Addie too, it's another Tuesday, and we're going to do it. Tell another disability story, a walk and roll life story.
All right, let's do it. Let's get to know our guest for this week. His name is Niko. I'll let him tell you the rest. Welcome.
So my name is Niko. I am a C45 quad, and I am from Reseda, California.
Very nice. Well, welcome to Walk and Roll Live.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. We want to learn the Niko, and the last name is Best, right? Niko Best.
Sir, yes, sir.
Very nice.
Nice. You were born to be the top, right, Niko?
That is one of the biggest jokes that I get is, are you the best?
Hey, I finally have someone to make that joke because my last name is Rich and I get ripped on all the time. So it only seems fair, Niko.
Hey, you know what? Growing up in high school, you know, it was a big one. But now I'm like, no, I'm not the best at everything. I try my best for sure. But, you know,
Something to strive for.
Exactly. So
Very nice. So you say you're from Reseda, but just before we started recording, you were saying you were from Russia.
yeah, so I was originally born in Russia, and at 4.5, I was adopted from Russia by my mom's and moved over to Reseda, California. So I technically grew up in Reseda. That's where I remember most of my core memories. But I was, originally born in Russia, so I have that Russian blood in me.
Gotcha. Have you ever had the opportunity to go back?
No, and I keep that question is asked a lot. Do I want to go back? And I don't really have a, want or need to go back. I have a good family here. I have a good life here. Yeah. But it is something that I have been asked, and personally for me, not really.
You're like, I'm all good.
You're still a young man, and I tell you, and Addie's still very young too, but
I was like, "Hey, man,
I'm the old guy here." So, but just from my perspective, as you go through your life, things change, and I'm not saying you'll change and want to go, but just lots of different things kind of hit differently over the course of your life. Things you never thought you were really that interested in later in life. You start to become interested in some things that you were interested, early on. You want to do, and then you just kind of lose that interest, and that's no big deal. So, yeah,
absolutely.
See what happens.
Time is fluid.
It's absolutely. So, to start your story, so you grew up in Reseda, so you went all your schooling there. Any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have one brother and one sister that are twins, younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my only siblings.
So you were a good big brother?
Let's just say we had our moments. I think from the time I was probably in elementary school to probably like junior year in high school, we kind of roughhoused and we weren't the best to each other. And then junior year, I got really close to my brother. I don't know like what clicked with me and him, but we started hanging out more, during lunch, nutrition, all that. And me and my sister, we get along. We're not like terrible, but we just don't have as close of a relationship as me and my brother do. But I love them all dearly. I wouldn't, if something happens to one of them, I'll be, distraught and I'll defend them till the day I die. So
I think many people can relate to that. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So were you a good student?
I was. So, I went to middle school and I was a troublemaker. I got pretty much in every kind of trouble you could ask for. And then I switched schools in the beginning of 8th grade, and I was still somewhat trouble. I didn't really focus on school, but because of freshman year, I wanted to play sports. You have to maintain that, I think it's like 2.5 GPA or something. So I kind of clicked in around then academically, And I've always been like pretty smart. I've never had like an issue with learning or anything. And I didn't have like I was really good at English. That was like my best subject, which is funny coming from a person who didn't speak English originally. But English is probably one of my top subjects. And then like everything just clicked probably like freshman year, and then sophomore year was when it really clicked. I graduated with honors, 3.5 student. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of school per se, but it did keep me, out of the house and out of trouble sometimes. And I definitely was a better student and, person in high school than I was in the years prior.
And open the door
what
to
sport
sports.
were you trying to do?
Yeah.
So I was a swimmer.
Swimmer. Awesome.
Freshman and sophomore year, I got to go to CIF.
Mm-hmm.
But without good grades, you can't participate in sports.
You can't go. Yeah.
So it was the pathway to get what you really wanted was the sports.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the schools are pretty smart about that.
So had you swam before that, or just in high school you're like, hey, I'm going to try swimming, and because you tend to be good at stuff, you picked it right up?
Yeah. So my parents had a pool growing up, so I was always around the water. And then I want to say like 8th grade, I was at the local high school by my house, which was Cleveland High School, and they have a pool on their campus that is owned by the city of Parks and Rec. And I happened to, pop in one day and I saw that there was a bunch of like, athletes competing and it looked super fun. So I asked my mom, hey, can I join the team here? She said, sure, make sure that, do your homework and all that. And I would just walk down to practice every day after school and getting my homework done. And then that was what like kind of started the whole, competitiveness of swimming. And so I practiced, 2-3 hours a day. And then in high school, it was, swim team practice was 2 hours and we'd have our meets on, I think it was like Thursdays or something. And I just loved it. I've always loved the water. I don't know what it is about the water, but it was like the one thing that I could like really, and my parents would let me play contact sport. That's another one. I couldn't play do like football or basketball because it was too contact. We don't want you getting hurt, which was smart. You don't see it in the moment. You're like, oh man, my parents will let me do this. But foresight, I'm glad that, I didn't play those contact sports because who knows what kind of injuries or, what might have happened if I hadn't chosen and my parents had convinced me to do swim. So.
Nice.
And you're long and lanky, so I'm sure that served you well.
Yeah, what's funny is I get a lot of people who say, "Oh, dude, you look like you're pretty tall." In all reality, and I'm gonna burst a lot of people's balls. I'm actually only 5'6".
Yeah, you do look much taller than that.
Yeah, a lot of the people that I competed with are taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
Had to work twice as hard to beat them. But yeah, I get that a lot that I look taller than I actually am.
You're like, I'll take it.
Hey, I'll take it. Yeah, no complaints. But that's my secret. I look tall, but I'm not.
So how did you do? Did you take home some medal?
No. So I was on varsity freshman year, and I got to go to CIF the first 2 years. But I couldn't find the stroke I wanted, or whatever. It just wasn't like I wasn't fully prepared. What really came was college, my freshman year in college, which I only did a year. But I swam for Pierce College, Pierce Community College, and the coach there was phenomenal. Her name was Judy. I'm gonna pronounce her last name wrong, Turhar, but she swam for CSUN, and she was a phenomenal coach. And she guided me and found out that I was a good long distance swimmer. I might have been short. I might have, up in the, tallest competitor in swimming. But she found out that I was really good at stamina. I had really good distance strokes. So she put me in a lot of distance events, the 1500, the mile, the 200 fly. So she found that out for me, which in high school wasn't, they're not as focused. If you know your stroke, you know your stroke. But they're focused on, hey, just go.
Yeah.
So college is where I really found the two strokes that I was good at, which was butterfly and freestyle. And she guided me, into that. But she also guided me more than that. I was like mentally, physically, emotionally. she offered a lot, and that was where I kind of really peaked at my sport. Was in college, so
Yeah. Then it sounds like that's about when you had your injury.
Oh yeah, so about that. Yeah, so from 18 to 9, let's see, I graduated in 2016. So 2016, like what, probably fallish. I started college, and I didn't like it, so I did a year of school, and kind of just partied and did, the whole college vibe of everything but school. And my parents told me, hey, we don't care if you go to school or not, but you need to stay busy so you stay out of trouble. So I worked for a few retail companies, this and that. And then I decided, hey, I'm kind of done living at home. I was like, it was time for me to move out. It was going to be better for me and the family. And so I want to say around 19, 20-ish age-wise, I moved out of my parents' house and kind of moved up north. And up north, I lived in a variety of places: Auburn, Roseville, Rockland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I worked for Cal Fire for a little bit.
Awesome.
Worked for the California Conservation Corps, and I kind of just kept moving around. And then in March, or was it probably summer of 2020, I moved up to Reno, Nevada with a job offer from a friend who had an apartment out there and stuff. And I worked for a moving company. Shout out to Tahoe Moving Company, the best moving company out in Tahoe. Yeah. And so I was working for them, and in March 20th of 2020, which is, will be my 40th anniversary this year, I actually was hanging out with a friend in the apartment the pool of the apartment complex that I was living in at the time. And we had a few beers, nothing, above the limit, but we did have a few beers, and we were in the hot tub, and I, went from the hot tub was getting cold, middle of winter, it's freezing in Reno, and we went from the hot tub to the pool, and I went to dive in, and apparently I don't remember, diving into the shallow end, but apparently I dove in the shallow end of the pool, anywhere from the 3 to 4 foot section, and I hit my head at the bottom. And I remember trying to go up for air. And I'm like, I'm not going up. Like, I knew automatically that I was paralyzed. And I was like, okay, this is that. And
This is
apparently,
not good.
yeah, this is life. So I blacked out underwater. I went hypothermic. Then my friend pulled me out and had to provide CPR. And then the paramedics got there. And I found out later on that apparently I was coherent during the whole thing. I don't remember any of it. And my first memory I have after, probably the surgery and all that, was I woke up in an MRI machine to this annoying noise of that beeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, the clunk, 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 clunk.
Yeah. And I remember I threw up twice, and I looked at the nurse, or I said nurse, and I was like, I think I threw up. And then I passed back out. And I woke up in the hospital bed at Renowned Regional in Nevada. And that was the start.
So big gaps in time from injury moment. I think sometimes your brain protects you, right? Because it's like, you don't need to remember this.
Right. Or there was a reason for not wanting to. Was it the pain? Was it the trauma? I really believe our body shut itself down to protect us in any way it can. So.
So how long was the physical recovery?
So, I like to tell people that it's ongoing. The doctor in Reno, Nevada, and I tell people this, I got upset at the doctor because I was like, he said, you will probably never, ever recover. And I was like, well, I have the mindset too. I kept, trying to stay positive about it. And I spent 2 weeks in the hospital there, where they tried to get me to sit up, extremely painful. And, it was a process to just sit up. It was very, very painful. I mean, I've been through pain before. This was, unlike any other pain I'd been through with a, neck surgery and trying to, move, and I wasn't ready. I moved to back to Cali with family and friends that were there to support me. And I went to Casa Colina Rehab, where I spent about 4 months-ish there. And that was better. I had definitely, the pain was going down. I was figuring out meds, and I was able to, kind of start the recovery process of getting, my hands and my, body functional. But I tell people that it's ongoing because, every day I I find something that I can do, or something to do it better. And we never stop per se recovering.
Yep.
It's just the mental side of it that a lot of people do stop recovering. It's like, hey, I can't do anymore. And as long as you're mentally strong and mentally positive, you should, and I say should because not everybody can, but you should be able to, move on with your life and be able to, find something to do and, get somewhat better,
Yeah. Well, it looks different for everybody. You say should, but I think it definitely is something you should strive for to, live the most independent life that you choose.
Right.
It's your decision.
Or physically able to.
And and that's part of it. You assess that, your body, what you want to, how far you want to push yourself. I think too many times over the course of, our history, and I mean the disability community, a lot of people make decisions for us, well into adulthood and beyond, you know what I mean? And they don't give us that autonomy enough. And we're working towards that. The whole community is making noise and, striving towards that more.
No, 100%. And I think there's a term I call it is learned helplessness. And we tend to learn to be helpless because in some aspects, there's things we can do and there's just some things we can't.
Yep.
The things that we can do, if it's always done for us, we never learn to per se do it ourselves, and then we become reliant upon everybody else.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, if you can do it, 100% try to give it a shot, because eventually, maybe one day, you'll be able to do it fully on your own, right? And I like that you said that it was, we strive to be as independent as possible, but there are times where we are going to, rely on somebody else's shoulder to pick us up again,
Yeah. And I would, along with you, I think I would encourage people to test those limits so they know where they are, and then they know where they need to ask for help, or they can be more independent in certain areas, because there's just so much self worth, it raises your self-esteem knowing that you have a little bit of independence, whatever it is, whatever you have to, claw and scratch out, try to achieve it.
Right. And I again, that's where I believe the mental side of any injury is really important, because you can have no function at all. You can have, as much function in the world as possible. But if your mental health isn't good, you do struggle a lot. And I definitely feel like I struggled for, the first 3 months were like, oh, I'm going to make it out of this. Right. And then the next 3 months I spent crying under my sheets about, I had lost what I thought was a lot. And once you can bounce back from that, I think it's like there's like 6 stages or 8 stages of, the process. Once you can bounce back and be comfortable with who you are as a person, injured or not, then, the mental side picks up, and I think life starts moving on.
Yeah. I've always, I've told many, many people this in many different arenas that, I don't know anything else. I was a year old when I got polio. So that mental part of it, which I feel is the tougher part. I didn't really have to go through a transition. I still had to deal with everything that I had to deal as I grew up, and learn how to, do things differently to achieve maybe the same result, but I had to do it differently. And, Addie can speak to this as well.
Yeah, no,
with
totally.
her experience, but yeah, you're right. The mental part, much tougher than the physical part, as tough as the physical part is sometimes, right?
Absolutely. Did you want to?
Go ahead, Niko.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's totally true. And we've kind of talked about that, so I can't drive because of my cerebral palsy. And I think, honestly, it sounds funny, but that's like the only time I've ever been frustrated with having CP, because everybody was driving and I want to drive. And even still, like I'm 46 now. Yikes. So well beyond the 16-year-old, like gets her license. And I still have those moments where I'm like super frustrated and ticked and just want to go to Walmart or something, you know, but separate of that, I mean, we kind of got handed our plate from the get-go and told, here's what it is. So we often say that, like, it's mind-blowing for us to think to have something and get it taken away because we never had it.
Right, absolutely. And again, when I first got injured, I took things for granted. Before my injury, I should say, I took things for granted. And I, now tell people, hey, take every opportunity you can that is gifted to you, because you never know if tomorrow it doesn't exist again. And that's opportunities, that's, experiences, whatever. But tomorrow it may not happen. So just take advantage of it while you can, because it may not be here.
Right.
So you work with Triumph, right?
Yes, Triumph Foundation, yes.
Right? Yeah. So are you one of their peer support people?
Yeah, so I go out to all their events and stuff, and I am happy to promote them as a foundation that works with spinal cord injuries and, has the first point of contact when they first get injured. And I, love doing it because it gets me out with the community and able to, express that positivity and try to get people through those tough times. And it's just, a wonderful foundation. They gave me their, backpack when I first got injured. And from there, our relationship just blossomed.
So what do you feel like you've learned through that experience? You've, I'm sure, learned lessons on your own, but now trying to be that example for other people, which I think is even much more positive and more powerful than the words you could say. I think just seeing you out, having a good time, socializing, interacting with other people, all the things, living a full life, that is more powerful than anything you could say. But how do you feel like you've affected other people that have come behind you?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that my goal, both the Triumph and my personal goal in life, is that, to try to tell people that, hey, even though you're injured, you do still have a life to live in whatever situation or state you're in currently. And, whether it's from when the first day you get injured or, years later, that you're going to find out that you yourself become in a sense, a brand new person. Is that the life that you lived before, the experiences and moments you had, that's not going to change. You've already done all that, right? But now is the time to, find who you are and find what you love to do and your passion and the people that support you. And one of the biggest thing is, the disabled community is a big, big support group and some of the, friendliest faces that I have ever met in my life. And the fact that we have each other's back so, I don't know how to say it strongly, is amazing to me, because I didn't have that kind of support, when I was able-bodied. I had friends, I had that. But to have this support system, hey, you're good, let's, get you moving on with your life, is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like there's some kind of shorthand that goes on when you show up at an event, and it's your people are there, and there's just this almost immediate bond, I think, because we all realize without words that we've all experienced some form of the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, before your injury, Niko, were you kind of the hype guy on the swim team and stuff, or is this kind of a personality that you've kind of melded into over time, or how do you think?
Yeah, no, I've always had this personality. I've always been that hype guy of let's go do things, let's go party, let's go
Nice.
fun, right? And when I got injured, I will say I lost it for a while. Because I was ashamed. I was, I'm like, I'm not the same person I was before. Nobody's going to love me. Nobody's going to like me. I'm not that guy anymore, right? I've just lost so much. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people go through, is they feel like they lost everything, because it's true. You really do. I mean, I did. I lost my ability to play sports. I lost my muscle, my strength, all this stuff. And I'm like, who's going to want to be around me now? I'm not, cool anymore. And it took about a year and a half for me to come out of that shell and really be able to go through that process of, hey, I'm okay, I'm alive, I'm, thankful to be alive. I'm injured, but there's, time to move on with my life. And after about that year and a half, I really started just being like, okay, I'm comfortable. Let me go out. Let me go find out what I want to do next. Let me learn more about all these foundations that have things to offer. And then I became that hype man again. I was like, I haven't changed a dang bit personality wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that was a conscious decision, or was that something that you literally were like, it just popped back into you as you kind of watched from the sidelines and they were like, oh, dude, there's a place for me? Or do you really said, okay, Niko, get off the soapbox, sad sack, let's do this?
Yeah, I think it was gradual. I think I had to, accept my injury was the biggest one, was that, hey, I actually am injured and the recovery may not be quick. It's definitely going to be long, but, I will recover. And then it came down to the mental side of, I was bored. I was like, I need something to do. I'm tired of being at home. And there was the support system was telling me, hey, go out there and go do things. It's okay to be in your shoes and, roll the life you live now.
Right.
And so between, me figuring out my, mental situation getting better and the community support around me, it did help bring me out of my shell. And it was not just something instantaneous like, oh, I'm ready to go. No, it takes time. Grief, all that whole process takes time. So.
Yes.
And I imagine you've observed this and maybe you can speak to it, is that everybody's different. There are some people that may make that transition quicker, some maybe longer. And, there's no shame in that. If it takes you a bit longer to kind of work through it and get there, great. Same thing. If you come to it quick, people shouldn't judge you for that either.
No, 100% is that we all go through that process and it's going to take us as long as we feel it's going to take us. For me, a year and a half seems quick, but like for me, I was like, dang, this is taking forever. I'm not, I'm tired of this. And then there's people who, 3-4 months, they recover physically, but sometimes mentally they're not fully there, and it's just being able to connect all three of physically, emotionally, and mentally at once and be able to make it go is, we all recover.
Energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have the opportunity to get back in the pool?
I have not yet. I got to go to the Life Rolls On surfing event last year.
Mm-hmm.
I missed the sign up by like 15 minutes or something. But they were able to get me in a beach chair, one of those sand beach chairs that is able to roll out in the water. Mm-hmm. And they were able to get me, decently out in the water, which was nice. It feels amazing. And I'm not afraid to go in a pool by any means.
Good.
Just the opportunity hasn't come up to be able to do it, but I would love to for sure.
Yeah. Very nice. So what are your interests now? What are you pursuing?
Yeah. So I love sports. I play rugby and wheelchair basketball, on the weekends and weekdays. And then a lot of it is just, community support, is going out there and being there for the people who need it when they need it. And being a hype man is amazing too. But when I'm out with, people who are newly injured or in a support group or something, it's just being able to tell them that, hey, again, life will move on and, we're here to help you through that process. So the hype man comes both in, hey, let's go out and do something, but also, hey, I'm here for you when you need it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like hype man at a party and soft hype man that you need when the moment in the dark spot to say, it's okay, buddy. It really is. So,
yeah, it's being able to transition between those two, those phases. Absolutely.
That's nice. That's cool.
Have you given much thought to a new career?
So I have never been a fan of school. I have tried tried to do school to try to, lock in and focus. And I just don't learn the way the education system wants it to through, a piece of paper and a pen. I believe that your real learning comes out, when you go out and do something or when you're hands on with it.
Yeah.
And again, everybody learns differently. Some people do better with a book and a pen. But I don't think that you really per se, you can like study a book. And then when it comes to the real world and applying it from the book, every situation is different. And so the book covers the basic scenarios, but when that scenario changes with just the slightest, thing, it's not the same as, what the book said. So you have to be able to adapt and, all that to the situation. So
We need to make like certificate of life. You're talking to a bookworm here,
Yeah.
but I have a sister who's not a bookworm. So I totally get it that sometimes school isn't the place. School isn't the place that refines us most.
correct. That is
It's the place that teaches us to do things in order. And I like order. My OCD is like, yes, please. Niko's like, hype man, I'm gonna roll right through here. And my OCD's like, ah.
And there's a role for that. Absolutely.
Yes.
So, in our community, we talk a lot about advocacy. And now that you've, lived in this community for a few years, is there anything that kind of sticks out to you as some accessibility device they need to kind of work on, a barrier we need to overcome that kind of sticks in your craw? Why haven't we worked on this yet?
Yes, my biggest one is being able to be transferred. I am a quad, and so my spasms are a little ridiculous, and getting in and out of bed requires either a Hoyer or a 2-person lift. And creating a device that would be able to make things smoother with a transfer, and again, I think one of the biggest irks I have is how expensive everything is in all reality.
Oh yeah. Yep.
A bike for anybody costs, maybe $50 at Walmart, right? And then you're looking at the people who hand cycle or do all these things, and then we're paying out of pocket, not even covered by insurance. Most of the time is, $20,000 for a hand cycle. I mean, I was just watching the news with the LA Marathon, and they're saying the average cost of these bikes is about $20,000. And then you're looking at somebody who, gets to go to Walmart and pick up a $50 bike that, worked for them for years. And so pricing is huge, and the access to this equipment and having to get all these referrals and things before you get approved for it is a little ridiculous. I mean, it shouldn't be hard to, help somebody out when in time of need or provide them something that will help them better their life.
Oh yeah, be life changing,
Amen.
right? Yeah.
I am my own referral. Why do you need a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Like, look at me.
And another one is like, hey, are you actually disabled? Like, so I'm gonna say it. No, Sherlock. Like,
Yeah.
come on, guys. Like, how I can't walk.
You're like, no, I just sat down here for the moment. Like, just needed to take a load off. It felt like the right thing to do.
It's what I want to do my entire life.
Well, I just got my third chair, and
Doug and I have been having this chairs issues.
And I guess this is new since I got the second one. But as I'm going through the process, they're asking me, well, you need to go to a wheelchair clinic. And I'm like, a wheelchair clinic? I mean, I've already had 2. I've been disabled since I was a year old. I mean, what are they got what is happening? So I kind of figured out that they're not teaching me, at first I'm thinking they're going to teach me how to use a wheelchair, but I just realized it's fraud prevention. They want to get eyes on you, I guess, and make sure that you're
like, Doug,
deserving.
Get up and get out of here.
Yeah, you faker.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Right. And another thing is like people do look at us as like we're fake. If they see my legs move, they're like, oh, you can. Oh, no, that's just my body trying to tell me that something's wrong or I need to adjust or something. And that's, I don't want people to think I'm fake by any means. I have a great personality, right?
Yeah.
But it does, it can be questionable when too many people abuse the right, parking plaques, whatnot. People want, the ease of access to accessible parking so they don't have to walk as far when all reality, they could walk that far, they're just lazy. So I get fraud prevention and all that just to, make sure that, not too many people are abusing the system. But again, come on, guys. Like,
but it's enough that they have to put in a wheelchair clinic.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. When I was a kid, I was just at that age where the Vietnam War was winding up. but I still had to go and register for the draft.
You're like, okay,
Which
what are
is,
you gonna do?
yeah.
Roll me?
That's kind of funny in and of itself. But I at that age, I had neighbors that was, tell me, God, people do anything to get out of going to the draft. Well, like I had a long game. I started this at a year old.
Yeah,
So
you were planning for future wars.
for 15, 17 years, I was planning just to get out of this. Doesn't even make sense.
That was a lot of work, Doug. I mean, there's easier ways. I mean, it's the same way. Like, you guys probably don't travel as much, like east to west. Obviously, like I fly a lot for work or going home or whatever. And the looks I get from people about, especially because a lot of times, like I'll bring my walker instead of my chair because I'm deathly afraid that they're going to mess up my chair. And then, the looks you get when you get the wheelchair service, people are like, you look like you're 12 years old. Why do you need this?
Yeah. And that's, I forgot what Doug said. He said something.
War?
It was war, but that doesn't, I'll go into that topic real quick. I would love, strap me up with some machine guns and let me go to battle. Cause I think that's something that, I guess that goes back to jobs too, is that, hey, we as, the community want jobs. We definitely want to work. And being able to get hired is extremely hard. And I'm sure, as we all know, the new DEI, bans and all that are making it extremely difficult. But we want to work. I mean, I would love to work. I don't want to have to, per se, go to school and get a degree and all that. But give me a job that I can do with my disability. And yeah, I would love to work. I would love to, put my time and effort into that so that I have money so I can go and buy these expensive things that, you want to draw up prices for. But we do want to work. And that's another thing is it's hard to get a job nowadays.
Totally.
Well, and I think they need to kind of reevaluate, the limitations on benefits if you work too much, so
for sure.
Yeah, they make that very difficult.
I feel like we've had many conversations about that because the limit is so little if you want to still get your benefits, but it's not like you don't need the benefits anyways. That I'm stumped about how the country works in that way. Even being like self-employed, that flabbergasted me about like how the tax is so much higher for self-employment tax. It's like, no, you should get a round of applause for making a job for yourself and not not just sitting there and waiting for something.
Right.
Like,
and when you look at it, like in all reality, these taxes are supposed to go back towards us, right? And back towards our country. Well, as a disabled person, one of the biggest things is accessibility. And, I ride a lot in my chair, and these sidewalks, for all the taxes that the people pay, they're not fixed. And, if you're going to tax people and quote that you're going to, hey, I'm going to, fix all this stuff and, well, put those taxes where it's supposed to go, not in the politician's pocket per se.
No, not at all. Or
put a sidewalk where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Or their friends' pockets.
Exactly.
Yeah. I won't get into any particular issues, but you see when there's millions and millions of dollars spent on something, and that particular problem is only getting worse.
Right.
But like you say, day-to-day things, which we all use,
right.
Should be
You're
maintained.
rolling in traffic because there's no sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. No. And, I tell people the story that I broke my shoulder that way. And that was because sidewalks weren't great. And I was driving in the bike lane and there was a bunch of leaves and, big stick underneath it. Couldn't see it. I'm going 6.7 miles an hour in my power chair because I go fast everywhere. I'm trying to hustle where I got to go. I drive over that stick, my chair tips to my left side, and I fall in a power chair and break my shoulder. Like, that just is unacceptable to me because, I shouldn't have to suffer or, put myself at risk in traffic to be able to get somewhere on the go when the sidewalks are not good and there's cracks and tree stumps and stuff blocking us and anybody else from, safely walking on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
We could do an hour on that kind of stuff.
I know. Look out. We have entered the chamber. The echo chamber.
Exactly.
So I know you have an interest in photography. Is that something you could pursue?
Yeah. So photography and videography are things that I, have done. I was never, I never wanted to be in photos. I don't like taking photos before my injury. And now, I believe capturing every moment of, anything is amazing. And I had to upgrade my phone because I was taking so many photos. I didn't have enough storage for all my photos and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I have offered, a variety of people to, do videos and stuff for them. And it's something that I would definitely consider. Again, like we've talked about, keeping that, what is that capstone of how much we can, actually take in and still get our, benefits is what weighs on my mind a lot when I think about a job or a career or self-employment. Is I do not want to have to risk losing something in order to, be
Well,
financially off better.
I'm sorry, Nico. Just
Right.
statistically, we're like statistically 20% of people have a disability, and the buying power of that group of people is in the trillions of dollars. So we're definitely a viable market. If for any one of us, if we were to pursue anything, I think if we could capture that market alone, if let's say you became a photographer and you marketed yourself to that group especially and specifically, somebody's getting married who has a disability, would you like to have a disabled photographer as your event? And if we were to kind of get together as a community, I'm just spitballing here, but we could really make that work on our
Like
own.
Monopoly, a free square. You can have these 5 careers and make as much as you want, as long as.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I believe like it's the movie industry, and I think I actually learned this from like Danny from he's an actor out in that's in the disabled community, and he says something like there has to be a disabled advocate basically in that set of the movie or the photo shoot or whatever, because they have to be able to have a disability advocate on the scene. And that was something that I found intriguing, because I was like, that's pretty good that, it's a thing for us to have to be able to be there, whether we're acting it or not, but at least they can ask us, hey, is this, the correct way to, say this or do this or, act out. And I kind of find that to be cool. And like you said, Doug, that would be awesome if we could do that, in just everyday life is,
Right.
With the disabled photography. You want a disabled photographer to take your photos? Bet. I'm on it.
All right. No, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I do that to some degree. I'm on a commission for San Bernardino County that it's like the last resort for somebody who like builds a building and then they want some kind of a dispensation that says, for money reasons that this, let's say this accessibility item, we can't accommodate that. And there's a whole process that they go through with the county before it ever gets to this commission. We're like the last resort where it goes to arbitration, and they get all the information to us, and we look it over and say yes or no. And happily, over the last 2 years I've been on this commission, we haven't been called for one thing. So somehow they resolve it and make sure that things are accessible to us in the new building. But
Right.
To retrofit things, that's a whole nother story.
They just put the ignorant stamp on it and they're like, well, yeah, they didn't know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that, accessibility wise, that shouldn't even be an issue. Is like, one of the big things, topics trending on social media and I don't know about the news because I don't try to avoid that, to be honest. It's a lot of negative. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things trending, at least on social media, that are like, hey, accessibility should just be, for everyone. It doesn't even you shouldn't even question it. Because we're all human, is that we all deserve the right to be happy and live prosperously, et cetera, et cetera. But, if we can't access something that somebody else can, then, we're not going to be able to have the fun that they were able to doing that thing. And I just really feel like that's something that right now we as the disabled community are struggling with is, hey, I can't do this because it's not accessible. I can't do this because there's no way to get there. I can't do this because of this, this, and this. And that's something that we should really, as a community, both disabled community and able-bodied community, should take a look into is let's go make life happy for everyone. And it's really a struggle right now for all of us. So,
And we're talking about an experience from a relatively new part of the country. A lot of new construction here. You go back, Atlanta, say, where you live, Addie, it's a lot older. I imagine, unless they're going to go retrofit a lot of things, it's not as accessible as it is here.
No, definitely not.
Oh.
And a lot of it they can lean on the historical designation that they don't want to disturb the historical designation. And, not to say about the South per se, like in a very bad way, because I love you, South, but
God bless their hearts.
Bless your heart. There's some closed-mindedness that maybe is antiquated to me as a person growing up in California. I mean, ignorant people are everywhere, but they tend to congregate sometimes.
Yep.
Just your bias is supported.
Sorry, just out of my personal curiosity, what is the difference, would you say, between like California and, where you live, like, accessibility wise or transportation wise or anything, disabled wise for people out there? Because I've never experienced the East Coast or any of that. And I would love to like be probably more aware of, hey, when I go out there, what's it like,
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just because the buildings are much older. I mean, of course, there's all new construction, and I'm sure that's all brought up, to standard. But we're talking about buildings that maybe 100 or 200
but
years
I
old.
get what Niko's saying, too, if he's never experienced it. It's like I was telling you going to New York, and you had to go up to the other subway station because it's only stairs at this station. So you need to go like 3 blocks the other way and on the other side of the street because that's where the elevator is. So, I mean, there's a lot more. I mean, it's like going to Europe. If you've never been to Europe.
Yep.
I've been to Europe either. So,
if you've never been to Europe, it is through no faults of their own, but lots of history. It is not an easy place for disabled people. There, cobblestone roads and London and like no such thing as elevators in certain buildings. And, my husband's from Argentina, and like the place where his cousin lives, I'd love to go and hang out with them, but there is no elevator. So like somebody's either going to have to piggyback me or we're going to get a hotel or something because there's no way I can't do 6 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Right.
Not going to be the same experience, is it?
Right. Oh, 100%.
So we gotta start to wind down here, Niko. Great talking with you, of course, but we want to make sure people know how to get a hold of you if they want to say hey or if they have some thoughts, want to connect on their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm primarily on Instagram. So my social media is Niko .DA.BEST. Once again, that's Niko .DA.BEST. And then, through, personal connection stuff, if you meet with me, I give out my number and all that. I prefer not to give it on a podcast per se.
That's good.
There you go. We don't advise it either.
Right. So you can contact me through social media. It's linked to my Facebook, which I'm not really on Facebook too much. So my primary social media is, Instagram. But feel free to reach out to me on there. I'm constantly posting. I'm constantly doing things. And again, I'm linked with Triumph Foundation and Live to Roll and Kelly Bush Foundation. And I like to promote all of them in their unique ways to be able to help you and get the resources and stuff you need to be able to succeed in your life.
If you're looking for a hot and upcoming photographer, now you know where to get a
now
hold
we know
of
where
them.
to find him.
Exactly.
And then we have one final question for you before we let you go. I don't know if you've listened. You may know what's coming. But
Uh-oh.
Okay, so we ask a question. Yeah. We try to, this is a surprise, but we try to do it so that we kind of show everybody the variety in the disability world, that like nobody's the same. I often joke that no, we don't all know each other, but this illustrates it even further just by the variety of answers. So the question is, how long does it take you to put on pants, socks, and shoes?
So how do I answer that? It doesn't. I don't do it.
Okay.
So I live in a congregate living facility where I have 24/7 care. And so I don't get myself dressed right now because I am not able to, with my spasms and all that. So it takes me zero time at all. My nurses do it. But the process of getting dressed and all that probably takes about 15 to get dressed and get up on my chair takes about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I can put on my own shirt, but like pants and underwear and socks and all that, I'm just not physically able to. So for those of you out there that are like me and, have people helping you get dressed, love you guys. But yeah, it's, that's one of the things that I, struggle with, is I would love to be able to get myself dressed. But again, not all of us can.
Appreciate that.
Awesome answer.
Yeah, because, and that's why we ask it, because, the whole spectrum of people, we get, from a minute to 2 minutes to 15 minutes to I can't, and that's what we want to demonstrate to our, our family and friends and whoever happens to tune in. And that's the diversity of this community. And that's the reality. And
the good part is that, at least we're getting dressed, at least we're getting up, we're able to, live our lives with whatever circumstance we have and the help that we have. So gotta be thankful for that all the time.
Awesome.
That's a great way to sum it up.
I know. I was like, and nothing else to say. Niko, drop the mic.
That's the mic drop. Exactly. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Thank you. We'll see you around the neighborhood.
City. I'll see you guys sometime.
Niko Best on Walk and Roll Live.
Each week on Walk and Roll Live, we share honest and open stories of people living with a disability.
And when we landed at the rooftop of the hospital, I was pronounced dead. At some point in time, it even got to the point where doctors told my parents that, there was really nothing they could do anymore, but just wait and see. And my mom even said that people from the morgue was coming to see her. And
join us weekly for another powerful episode. Walk and Roll Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Life Limitless. Subscribe now.
No, I love Niko. I want to be BFF of Niko in my life. He's just like the consummate hype man, and I love how much he has evolved. I don't want to say evolved past, but kind of that's the only way I can think to say it. Evolved past the injury. Like, okay, now that happened. Now let's move forward. Come with me. He's already ready to be the hype man for the next thing because this is just a hiccup, and I love that.
I got a feeling that energy was there too before, right?
Oh, for sure. But now it's just like, he's like, okay, whoops, dust myself off and moving on. And I love that, he talked about there was a difficult time. And then he was like, okay, it is what it is. And now we're moving on. And I mean, I'm here in Atlanta and even just coming through the waves, I'm just like, you want to go do something fun or clap or go eat ice cream or something. He's a unicorn in a human body or something.
Well, go check him out on his Instagram. It's Niko.best.
Niko the best.
Oh yeah, he's putting up stuff. He's doing paintball and doing all kinds of crazy things. So yeah, if you want that energy,
if you want to light in the world, he's a little firefly. We'll put him in a bottle.
Absolutely. So what do you have going? You alluded to something you did for your birthday that you were going to share.
I did. I went and pet puppies and ate cake, and then we went to a tulip farm and we went to a monastery. Like, in 2 days, we packed more life into this hermit's time than we normally do. So that was really cool. A great diversity, but all things that I had on my checkoff list, and then we hadn't done.
Well, the flowers I get, and puppies, of course, but monastery, what drew you to that?
So the monastery, we tried to go when it was the beginning of COVID, and you could only do the prayer walk. Because it's a real working monastery, but because of COVID, it was closed. And so they have an Abbott bakery, and they have where they sell religious things and everything. It was really cool. And so I told Tito, hey, let's see, because they have stained glass and everything. And I said, let's see if it's open. And it was open. So we went and we had lunch and just hung out. And
okay.
I'm a history nerd. So I loved reading about it, because in the monastery world, they wanted to have stained glass, but they're not allowed to hire out. You have to do the work. Because basically the idea
that's real right now. Current times.
Yeah, that's right now. That's right now. That's the belief of the monastic system, is that basically it's a life of prayer and work, right? So one of the This is in 1944, though, when they were building this. But one of the brethren, or whatever they're called, he learned stained glass so he could make the windows so that they could have a stained glass window.
That are in there for the last 85 years or so.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm the nerd that likes all that stuff. So that I was super into that. And I like a place of reverence and peace and quiet. And, you know, when you have a birthday, you kind of get reflective and you're like, let's go to what a better place to like reflect than a monastery with a walking prayer path, you know?
Well, I was thinking, I didn't realize that they actually have things to draw people there. You know, bakery and all that. I thought it was just a monastery that was.
You're like, wait, you want to try to get to the monks? Yeah, no.
Yeah. You know, and then you just don't want to come, hey, can I poke around? Look.
Hey, man, it's my birthday. Let me in the monastery. No.
Okay.
No,
that makes more sense.
They have a historical center. They have, you know, where they do their bakery and stuff. And so it was really fun. I enjoyed it. And like I say, it's just a kind of the prayer path or the walking path. It's just really quiet and like beautiful bird sounds and just a good place to say, like, I made it this far and where am I going next?
Very good. Very good.
And that was the point. So there you go. How about you? What's in the futures?
In the future, well, we got poker night coming up. That's always a hoot. And then, as you heard in our commercial at the beginning of the show, Aguiar Professional Training has their yearly seminar coming up.
Okay.
And check that out. She does a great job. We'll have to have her on probably next week. I
believe we
it's April 12th, I think. So we better get her on here and just kind of give an oversight or an overview of what they do there. It's just personal growth, you know.
Cool.
Yeah. So, you know, breakout sessions and that kind of thing from 9 to noon. You can do it on Zoom. So wherever you are in this good old world, you can jump in there.
Nice.
And we've got the link on our website and the resources or events page, one or the other. She's on the, Aguiar is on our resource page, and the event, I believe, is on the events page. So you can just click right through and get right to where you buy your tickets and all that good stuff.
And if you haven't been on there for a second, Doug made it all pretty.
Yes,
So.
yeah, got to change
You
the
gotta
look
check
of
it out.
Yeah.
Check it out, peeps.
Yeah, and I'll get into that at some point. You know, looking for some professional help, I guess. I guess is the way to put it. Yeah, somebody to kind of
You need professional help in which subject?
Well, I'm an old guy, and I'm not a. How do they say now? Where we're kind of foreigners, and the kids these days are native to social media and just the internet.
It's a little bit antiquated. It's a little hard.
Yeah.
But ask them to do a typewriter. Ask them to dial their phone without their cell phone telling them what the number is. Like, we got this.
So I'm getting a little extra help to understand some of this stuff, and already I'm getting some great information. Answering questions that why does that do that? Why does this do that? Why does that do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, now I get it. So
nice.
All righty. Next week we have a return guest. This will be the first time we've ever done this. I believe. I mean, we've had a couple of organizations,
but for a full guest episode,
and a full guest, somebody that's been a guest on the show to come back and give us an update on what's going on in their lives. So that'll be next week with Rebecca Valenzuela. If you remember, she's the adaptive sports. I mean, she plays everything. They just did sled hockey this weekend, and they won the whole thing. This new team.
They did.
Yep. So
amazing.
She'll be all pumped up about that. So that's it. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, along with Addie Rich from the Aguiar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live. Disability Stories, Life Limitless.